Welcome back to live coverage of BR6. Riley and I joined by Gio and Ollie at the desk. We are shaping up for our fourth and penultimate match of the day. And while we've had a couple of, we've had ups and downs. There's been laughs and smiles. We've had all sorts of stuff happen today. But we're getting down to the pointy end of things here as we secure a sixth spot team here heading into the LATAM League final starting next weekend. It's going to be one of these two teams here that we're going to see in the following two rounds. We've got Black Dragons and MIBR. This round, Black Dragons facing off against Team 1. Let's get the perspectives of the players heading into this match, and then we'll talk about the maps and the game itself. Let's get to it.
O nosso jogo contra a oNe, a gente levou para um mapa que era confortável nosso. A gente sabia que eles também deveriam saber jogar, porque é um mapa que Oregon costuma ser um mapa que todos os times sabem jogar. E sabia que se a gente jogasse esse mapa em específico, a gente conseguiria trazer um resultado bom.
Foi um jogo pegado, né? A gente acabou de formar um time, fazia acho que 2 semanas. A gente chegou contra a BD meio que para testar o nosso jogo. A gente meio que sentia meio que uma pressão, assim, tipo, como por ser um time novo.
A gente sabe que eles estão vindo com uma bag grande aí, por causa do Invi. A gente sabe que vai ser um confronto difícil, mas a gente também está confiando muito na nossa map pool e com um time novo, encaixado, eu acho que vai dar muito bom para nós.
No primeiro jogo eles tinham uma experiência, hoje não tem mais. Como tem novos players lá, eles vão precisar adquirir mais experiência e a gente vai chegar como um time mais experiente. Vai ser um jogo da hora, a gente vai ganhar.
One of the real up-and-comers in the Brazilian League, and certainly they've already made their mark on this stage by securing their slot in the LATAM League finals. But they have to get through Black Dragons, who are going to be hungry for a W here, especially considering, Gio, that they are playing for that sixth spot, that last place remaining in the LATAM League finals. Talk us through the maps here, mate, and exactly what's going to motivate these teams as we head into the game.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're Black Dragons, you're probably going to want to go somewhere you feel very comfortable on. Maybe a clubhouse, but the problem with that is Team 1 also feel comfortable on it. Team 1 have banned it out straight away anyway, so they were having the same line of thinking as me, I suppose. That said, Black Dragons have been kind of risky of late in going to maps that they've never even touched before. So, okay... They're going to be following the trend, I guess, as we head into Consulate, which Black Dragons have played a grand total of once, and they have a grand total of 0 victories on it. But after seeing the way that they played Chalet the other day, and their recent game on Villa as well, I feel like I'm not in a position where I can even say this is a bad idea.
Yeah, we might have some surprises up the old sleeve here, I reckon. Ollie, talk us through what's going through BD's heads at the moment. Black Dragons, with everything to gain here and a lot to lose, they really, really want to win this one to secure their spot in the LATAM League final here.
Yeah, they absolutely do. Black Dragons are a team that have come in, they've made a couple of changes, and they're looking to try and shake things up here and cement themselves as one of those top 6 teams. I think they could do worse, honestly, than going toward a Consulate here. If we think back to when they played W7M on this map last week, it was one that came down to overtime. It came down to pretty much max OT. It ended 8-7 in W7M's favour, and there was no real clear winner. We could have gone on playing that game all night as they were both going back and forth on there. And then you think toward recent plays for Team 1. They played Consulate yesterday against Team Liquid. So there's, again, recent form to be going off there. In terms of what Black Dragons can start to bring in as counters to the way that Team 1 have very recently played on this map. So I think the map is a very careful decision here from Black Dragons to let through. They certainly don't have a terrible Consulate, and going up against Team One when they've got recent VOD, maybe there's some things that they can start to try and do there. So they really are going to be taking this one seriously, and it's going to be on Team One to really bring the heat. I think they're going to have quite the game on the hands here, because Black Dragons are fighting for something quite significant. They're fighting for a spot inside of the Copa Elite Six, and that really can't be underestimated.
Yeah, just that fire in the belly, the fact that it gives you going into a match where, again, you've got so much on the line. Team One, on the other hand, they've locked up their spot. They're not playing for anything other than just points here, effectively, and perhaps better seeding in the league final here. So, Gio, Team One is identified, broadly speaking, as one of the up-and-coming teams. They've put on a real show for us in this stage. And, that's not to say that they're not going to want to finish with a bang here, right? Like, they still have a lot to gain from this, even if it's not as quite as much as Black Dragons.
Of course, they still have stuff to prove, both to themselves, to everybody else. They may be in the top 6, but that doesn't mean they're in the top 3. So, as far up as they can get will probably feel great for Team One. And I don't see them really letting this one slip, to be honest.
No, and look, this is a match that matters a lot for Black Dragons. This is a match that they're going to play their guts out. You can be sure of that. And it's a match that we're going to get underway with right here and right now, my friends. It's time to go down to Consulate for this all-important match for Black Dragons, their opponents, Team One, and your casters, of course, Gio and Ollie.
Thank you very much, Riley. We're going to be headed on to the Ivory Coast, over toward Consulate right about now. Black Dragons, Team One. Now, with NIP winning the previous game, the one that we just saw, where they played Santos, there is no potential for Team One to leapfrog them anymore. If they win here by a clean 3 points, they would still be left 1 point shy. So it really is pressure on Black Dragons. They are the ones that are playing for their spot inside of the Copa Elite Six here. A lot riding on this one. The band's coming in. Thatcher, Hibana. Black Dragons also, are they going to remove the Valkyrie? I would imagine they are. Yes, they are. They're going to take away the Valk.
This one going to be.
I was waiting for your elevator music.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to do that this time.
Not in the mood?
No.
Vigil.
All right.
Well, Vigil's a weird one. I think, again, could count on one hand the amount of times that we see Vigil removed. Team One there just saying, look, you know what? We don't want no Vigil up in there.
Yeah, I'm sure that's exactly what they've said.
But I don't know why.
Well, I mean, Black Dragons are quite a heavy kind of roaming team. So I would assume that that's something that they would want to play. It's really difficult because Black Dragons have only played this game one time this stage. We don't really have anything to go by in terms of their, typical play style, for example. So I suspect it's probably more something Team One have looked into in their holistic play style and said, yes, this is something they would be likely to lean into.
The amount of scrolling I've got to do on Black Dragon's compositions to find a time that they have actually used Vigil is worrying, consider it's banned here.
Oh, alright, well. I tried.
Yeah, it isn't something that Black Dragons look to bring very often. I guess for the side of Team One, they're on the defense first. They say, you know what, we're not going to use Vigil. Let's just remove it. We get the run of our teeth now on the defense. They've got everything bar the Valkyrie at their disposal. And they're going to probably try and make good use of that inside of this first phase. They're going to be defending downstairs in garage. There's a nice little camera there being placed inside of some of the tires on the rack. Team One, of course, took Liquid the majority of the way here a couple of days ago. So we know they're a very capable side. Black Dragons, on the other hand, we've only seen them play W7M, and they lost. So there's still a bit of a question mark over what they want to bring on Consulate. And certainly as this roster, that's the only time that we've actually seen them play the map. So we're still learning how and what they want to do here and sort of how good they are, really, to be blunt about it. So this is really going to be a big test of that.
I mean, there's still some setup going on here. Neskin's obviously situated himself in the bathroom upstairs, knowing full well the Black Dragons will likely be looking to open up the piano floor, so it's almost always a mute who's going to be sat in there. It's really no shock. There's also someone from Black Dragons, this is Iron, who's just sat outside of the main entrance, so trying to catch a line of sight in through the bathroom is actually going to make it quite hard for Neskin to be able to move around within there.
Unfortunately, we are going to lose Lagonis there, but the round will play out regardless. Could do something to weaken Team 1 in this current position. Neskin's still going to be allowed to play inside of the bathroom, though. I think he has actually dropped out of there, as the pressure has started to really mount inside of the piano. The floor now being open to a point where the electrification can be removed and the exothermic charge can be placed. It's fairly slow and steady stuff here from the side of Black Dragons. But they're not making any mistakes on the way, and they're certainly not taking any chances. Only now do we see the C4 toss come through from Alamau, but even then, look at how much care Resets is taking in sledgehammering open this floor. He was stood on one of the raised positions there inside of Piano to avoid the C4, and even with it coming through, it did chunk him down to half, but he managed to stay alive. Now we see a bit of a push starting to materialize. Live going to attempt to get this plant down. Wall being open so that sufficient angles can be held externally. And what, we're just going to let this go down? Crazy stuff from Team 1. Still a C4 in the hand of KDS, which wasn't really in position to be used. Instead, he's fighting his way upstairs. Ion has got some great cover, taking out a couple of the players that were looking to try and rotate and maybe retake a vertical angle. Neskin, he's pushed all the way up to the front of White Van, but he too will be taken down. Patoxy, he's going to swing through and find the final kill. Obviously, Team 1 losing Lagonis in the early part of the round wasn't ideal, as the Yokai would have been relied upon there. They didn't have a smoke, but still, bit of a give me for Black Dragons, and one that they took advantage of.
Yeah, I'm really with you on the fact that it's so odd that they just let that plant go down, because the problem that you have there is that, you know, they can just set up a post plant for free. As the defenders, you're now the ones who have to aggress forward. And obviously, before you'll have an opportunity to even try and disable the diffuser, you have to kill people, right? So, you know, for example, we had the Kaid, and I don't remember who it was who was playing on Kaid, but we had the Kaid move out from the shield on pipes, which is usually one of those areas that is so paramount for attackers to clear that it's a priority. But in this case, it wasn't even touched. They didn't need to. So we had him push forward from his position on pipes, go up to the yellow stairs door. And of course, like, what are you going to do there? You're super vulnerable. They just coordinated a swing to bring down the last couple of members of Team 1. It was a really, really strange round. And sure, I appreciate that their plant denial was taken off the board through means of what I assume was a disconnect. But they could have tried.
I think that was the sentiment, wasn't it? It felt, and I'm sure that this isn't what it was, but it felt very much like, that's not my job. It's like, the Yokai's down, you know, there's no Yokai drones, Echo's DC'd, the plant's going down, and everyone's just sort of turning around going, yeah, it's just not my job, mate. Like, I'm not the one that's looking to try and do that. And yeah, they didn't have the best kit for it. There was still a C4 in the hands of KDS, but he wasn't in position to use it. There was no smoke, and that was the sort of big factor there. Smoke, pretty much a staple bring on Garage. You're expecting to, even if you're not stopping a plant, you're expecting to cut off a push and waste a bit of time. A bit of a strange composition there from Team 1 to start with. But a new round here, and they're going to take us to split. Hopefully, Lagonis manages to keep himself in for the duration. Alamau trying a bit of aggression there out of the yellow window. He's in fact going to go for the repeat on it. Pretty risky stuff, but everyone gets away unscathed.
If I don't see a Capcan booby trap kill someone in this round, then I'm leaving. Because it's been a while since we've seen Capcan be brought. I would say that, you know, in recent history, the site where you're most likely to see Capcan would have been Lab on Theme Park. But of course, Theme Park got brutally torn from our clutches a little while ago. We haven't really seen much of Capcan since. He was a 6-pick as well, so Black Dragons aren't going to be immediately aware until/unless they find those booby traps out and about, they won't know that they are there. Now, Black Dragons did also have a 6-pick on their own side, and that was onto the Lion, which they're going to, you know, and you can see the ping onto the booby trap come out, so they know now. The Lion will obviously help them seek out some of these players or just hold them in position. Now, that could be useful if you want to apply some vertical pressure onto them. Live is going to be a bit ouchied for a while.
Default cam.
Yeah, well, it didn't last very long, so I wasn't going to mention it.
There is plenty of information available here, as Lagonis is going to be playing the Pulse. We should be able to call out a lot of these positions. Pulse obviously being such a big problem on this site. It was one of the big undoings of Black Dragons when they played W7M, but just an approach down the spiral stairs. Reset's going to miss his shots as Levy too, but the reswing comes back in. Levy is eventually able to find a bit of success. Neskin shuts down Live as well. The diffuser is going to be cold just on the threshold. Perezin, he's going to get himself taken on down. Alamau finds 2. They're just lining it up for him. Black Dragons, they're being allowed to make their way downstairs, and they're just being taken out in due course. Ion now, last remaining player. He's getting peeked from just about every conceivable angle right now. Does manage to shut down Neskin. Be able to find some more. He's actually going to go back upstairs now. The pings and the information suggest KDS has dropped, and you can see that he has. He's going to be inside there. There's live pings coming out here. People swinging left and right. What is going on here? KDS finally puts a stop to the madness as we see Team 1 pick the round.
Well, that was a bit more proactive than the previous round. That was the Team 1 that I wanted to see. Maybe Lagonis was the answer all along. I mean, Team 1 didn't even really have to defend that in the most traditional way that you would defend Tellers and Archives. It just didn't get to that point. There wasn't much of a setup from the attack to go in to make some kind of plant, and especially with Alamau popping off in the way that he did, you got enough kills that you simply don't have to treat it the same way as you oftentimes would when someone is attacking onto that site. Made it a relatively easy defense for Team 1, so they'll be like moving back down into the basement now. Now, I'm hoping that it's going to go a bit differently for them. Not necessarily that I really have a preference for who wins this round, but I just mean I would like to see them make a change to their approach. If Black Dragons get in early and they manage to plant, please don't just leave the plant going down. The fact that they do have an Echo on side now because Lagonis is in this round gives me some optimism that they would treat that more appropriately. However, there's always a chance that Lagonis could be killed before them, for example. So, I just don't want to see them play quite so passively.
Was a very detailed electrical placement here from Alamau underneath one of the stacker units inside of the garage. Certainly not going to be an easy one to root out, especially given that it is directly opposite the drone hole, but it's going to be made even more difficult now as Resets has been taken out. Bit of an opening flurry of engagement and aggression there from Alamau. We've seen him go for a couple of peaks so far. That time he was successful. I imagine from yellow window. That's usually one of his hot spots. Reset's struggling to get himself into the game as of yet. Levy is going to pay no heed to the E1D that comes on in, and he's almost going to be just taunting Patoxy, saying, yep, you can scan all you like, but it really isn't going to affect the way that I am wanting to move and make myself safe inside of this top floor. Come and find me.
It's a fair point as well, the fact that Resets hasn't really found himself in this game yet, because neither has Perez, and for the most part, they've been the two players who have really shone so much on Black Dragons and been the glue that they needed after stage 1. And yet they just haven't had that opportunity so far in this game. KDS was able to be brought down, but it wasn't by either of those. It was by Iron. So they've evened out the man count, but doesn't change too much as of yet. They don't have the piano floor open. Live finally gets going on the garage door, but not in any kind of a position to act in the same way that he did in round number 1, where he just walked straight in and planted.
Especially losing resets in that sledgehammer, it just really hinders your ability to do anything significant inside of the piano. We're going to see Neskin. Nade is going to remove the mute jammer, but very patiently waits for the nade to explode before dropping himself back down. So, whilst the control has now been gained, Black Dragons are very limited in what they're actually able to open, just in the fact that they're running out of soft breach. Ion has got a couple of ash breaching rounds, but they're not going to do a great deal. And instead, he's going to try and use them through the hatch to create a couple more lines of sight down below. Now, Levy is a bit of a unrecognized entity at the moment, in a position to maybe get a bit of a flank off. Lagonis with the yokai drone, that's going to be popping out from behind the white van very shortly. It will be taken out, but the C4 is going to land. Alamau is able to take down Live as Levy's flank was successful. Alamau on for a triple kill. A desperate drop from Perez will be met by Lagonis. That is exactly what Team 1 were hoping to do in round number 1.
Yeah, I mean, that's much better. And Alamau got so much more value out of that position on the Kaid compared to what it was that I criticized back in round 1, where he basically sat passively on pipes and ended up moving forward at the end to hope that he could get someone who was going to swing on yellow door, and then got swung on himself. This time, he obviously got very good value out of the C4 that he had by throwing that in to deny the plant. He held and maintained control of that space that he was in. It just looked completely different to what we had back in round number 1. And that's really nice to see for Team 1. You know, they made the changes that they needed to make, brought Lagonis back in, approached it differently, and it worked. So now they can actually move on from, they found their peace with the garage site, and they can move just one floor up to Preston Lobby. Now, Black Dragons, they did bring out a 6-pick in this round, and that's going to be Kali. Interesting one, because it's not necessarily where I would associate a Kali.
No, me neither. I don't think that it's something that you immediately put 2 and 2 together. The pick that's kind of piqued my interest from Black Dragons is the Nomad as opposed to the Lion. I think it was quite funny how we saw Levy just sort of running along the top floor as the Lion scan was coming in. He was like, what are you going to do about it, Pedoxy? Like, you might know where I am, but realistically, what is this scan doing? It's giving a little red ping for a few seconds, and Team 1 still win the round. Now, whereas the Nomad, that has a much more sort of threat, and it is much more respected in terms of those air jabs. So, it doesn't really surprise me to see that change. Well, this is where the Kali's being used, Gio, as Live is just going to be planting. He's literally walked up to main door, shot it, tried to get the plant out, but the yokai drones come on in. What about this for some information on the side of Team 1? The plant has now been stopped. This is such a mess. Netskin, he gets a headshot and a C4 kill. Black Dragons, they tried to pull the wool over Team 1's eyes, and it really has not worked. Alamau now a C4 prepped and ready with Perez's name written all over it. Instead, it will be shot out mid-air. How Live is still alive in this one, I will never truly know. Alamau, he does shut down Perez. 2 versus 5 now. Live's actually got himself down into the basement. Alamau, what a freebie over onto Ion. Not a great deal of information rocking around now. Live has come with a bit of an alternate line of attack, but Levy, the turn and burn. Not sure if he had the yokai drone or if he had some information there. Maybe just the sound cue, but was all he really needed.
That was a real set play as well from Black Dragons, not just sending the Kali in nice and early to get the plant, but you could tell that they'd actually put up a lot of protection to ensure that they couldn't get jumped out on. I don't know if you noticed it, Ollie, but the air jabs were placed outside the windows.
Yeah.
So they were almost being used as claymores rather than preventing them from making rotations inside. So the whole point was, let's go in, we're going to have this early plant, and then we'll, set up our post plant just outside the door, and we're going to make it so that no one can jump out on us, and we'll be pretty safe. But because they hadn't actually cleared anything, leading up to that, they just, I suppose, completely overlooked the fact that Team 1 could still deny the plant through other means. They didn't have to wait for a post plant. I can see the thought process for Black Dragons, but I don't think it was well thought out enough.
There just wasn't enough due diligence done. You've got to respect the Echo, and you've got to respect the Yokais. And I don't think that we saw Black Dragons truly show that little piece of the puzzle enough respect, because it was incredible enough that Lagonis was able to get inside of the Yokai drones and act as quickly as he was. I'm not sure how the call came through, if he was just sat on them anyway or getting them into position and he sees what's going on, or how that information is exchanged, but it was tight stuff. And I thought that the plant was seriously going to go down there. Live wasn't too far off getting it down, and it makes sense to why he's bringing the Cali. He's trying to get a plant in a big open doorway, and he's going to try and hold it from outside. So it was a good attempt from Black Dragons, but it was just a little bit too, this is what we're trying to do, square peg round hole sort of scenario. They'd not really adapted it for that moment and for that exact situation that they were in.
Well, we'll see what it is they do. Again, now that they're going to have to face the Tellers and Archive site once more. This was a site that they barely even got to touch back in round 2, to be perfectly honest. They just got beaten down very quickly by Team 1. There's just one of their players left remaining to attempt to 1v5. See how this one goes. Toxie again with the air jabs, this time to be used inside rather than outside. I think he was actually down in the basement there. So, you know that there are going to be... You know that there are going to be defenders down there who may likely want to move up. I would say it's not a bad place to be approaching your air jabbing.
No, not at all. Any air jabs out here are going to be welcome, I think, especially with how much movement and how fluid Team 1 have been playing. Alamar could be getting himself pinched here inside of admin. He's going to make his way out into desk and look challenge through to copy in the top of main stairs and spiral. Going to be KDS to find some success though onto Ion, and a second onto Live, locking it down inside of admin. Resets eventually finds one back as a trade as he too makes his way upstairs. Two young gunners, Perez and Resets. Oh, there it is, Gio. You get to see it. You now have to stay. Yeah. The Capcan traps there, securing the down, and Alamau there to provide the kill. Toxie, he's taking a bit more of a direct approach as he pushes through in onto the site. But it really isn't going to matter. KDS takes down Resets. Toxie is 1 versus 3 here. Vertical angles can now be held. He's lit all the way, and it's not going to take too much for him to fall. Lagonis eventually, beautifully baited, waits for a little bit of the spray, and then takes the swing himself. Team 1 looking pretty good tonight here on Consulate.
Yeah, they're looking incredibly comfortable, and this is sort of the concerns that I had about Black Dragons over the last couple of days are coming to fruition now. You know, they're running the risk of going to a map that you don't have a ton of experience on, you don't have a ton of accolade on. It's going to bite you at some point, and Black Dragons, regardless of these set plays that they feel that they've brought and how prepared that they, you know, I suppose perceive themselves to be, it's not proven enough against Team 1 here so far. It could all, of course, change at the half. You never know how things are going to change at the half. But they are struggling. It's not the end of the world just yet, but Team 1 have just looked like they have the finger on the pulse the entire time. Once again, into Garage. This is the 3rd time that they have been here. It's the only site the Black Dragons have successfully attacked onto.
It does say a lot when that only time that Black Dragons have been successful is in a 5 versus 4. When we didn't see Lagonis able to play round number 1, he DC'd around this point, I think, or maybe a little bit further into the actual round. So I think that's the big alarm bell for me here inside of this one, is the only round that Black Dragons have looked close is a round where we saw a big piece of the puzzle missing. Now, does that say that we just need to see Black Dragons start to get an opening pick? Or was it a case that Team 1 didn't quite give up, but there was just a lot of confusion in the room? Obviously, playing in the same room as the team, if someone DCs, it's going to affect and cause that ripple between the people that you sat next to. and there's going to be that sort of concern and urgency to get that player back into the lobby. But at least in this round, it's not going to be Team 1 starting off on the back foot. Levy, there he's able to take down Ion. As again, some aggression in these early parts of the round is shown by Team 1, and it's shown to be successful.
Very nice spawn peek from Levy. So now it's Black Dragons who are... Oh, I was going to say in the 4 versus 5, but it's not. I cussed it. It was 3. At least they managed to take down KDS in return, which makes it closer to evening things out. But this is a particularly hard site to break onto if you're at a hugely limited number of people. Live's still alive, so, you know, he should be able to get the garage door open. I don't foresee that being a huge issue. But once again, with resets down, they won't be able to get the piano floor open. And that was something they really struggled with last time. Now, interestingly, Team 1 have got so much presence up here on the first floor as well. Alamau is still on Kaid, but he's actually in the bathroom this time, whereas before, we've seen him stationed down on pipes. So Team 1 already are going to be really difficult to break through on that first floor, and even then, Black Dragons probably aren't going to be able to get much done up there.
The second time that they've attacked onto this and they haven't had resets to really deliver that damage inside of the piano. Live is struggling with that electrical placement. We didn't get to see it, I don't think, inside of the prep phase, but last time it was underneath one of the toolboxes, and it's going to be very difficult to get rid of. You certainly got little chance of getting it vertically. You're going to need to get it from yellow stairs or with a nade or some sort of explosive. So all of this is really causing a lot of pain and a lot of time wasted. Levy will be punished, whereas he was the one that was searching out that electric floor and eventually will find it. And along with it, Levy's head as he takes him on down. Neskin has got himself now into the piano and into the bathroom, and he's going to be trying to hold on inside of there. Alamau has dropped down into the back of White Van. You get the feeling that the plant is on the cards, but as Live searches out the yokai, Alamau is going to be there with the kill. And maybe he's going to find himself a couple of more, puts a bit of shots and a few points of damage in over onto Perez, and enough to take him out of the game. But Patoxy, he was there when it mattered. Lagonis, he's going to find the final kill. And Airjob just ringing off in the distance as one of the players from Team 1 just runs down those yellow stairs. As the side switch, we end on a 5-1 to Team 1.
You have to remember the stakes of this game. Black Dragons need to finish in 6th place in order to make it into the Cobra Elite 6. Now, MIBR play in the next game, and they play against Team Liquid, which is a game which, in theory, MIBR will be massively disadvantaged in. However, if you think back to Stage 1, MIBR beat Team Liquid 7-1, and it was also the very final game of the Stage 2. Black Dragons can't just rely on the fact that MIBR are going to lose against Team Liquid. They just can't. But this does not look like a game that is going to really solidly hold them in contention for that spot. And that's really concerning. They're so close.
It is hard for Black Dragons to get into this one when they're seeing so much pressure in the early part of the round, and they've been threatened on the approach to the building in so many of those rounds. But now they do switch sides, and there's a chance to reset that mental and do something here on the defense. But you do just have to start to worry for them when you know that Team 1 are such a capable side and a team that have really ascended not quite out of nowhere, but they've come a long way in a very short space of time, and it's something that a lot of people have recognized. It's something that they're looking to continue to do, especially with results like this. What has been so far a very dominant performance could be about to get a little bit more cemented as they move on to this attacking side. We note often about the coordination and the fragging potential on Team 1. You could put a keen eye toward that entry here to see how they're going to try and approach this. It's looking a bit dangerous. There's a lot of people stacked up outside of garage here, and I just kind of hope we're not going to see a bit of a garage rush, but it might be on the cards.
Oh no, I want to see it. Let's go. Let's do a garage rush. 4 C4s on the side of Black Dragons as well. Ooh,
Right, look at Lagonis's picture now. He's literally looking over to his teammate. He's like, yep, are we going?
Yeah.
Are we going?
Oh,
Yep, lion scan, right?
They're all waiting, yeah.
And now we move in a little bit slowly and straight into live as he's going to actually find the first one. But Levy and KDS, they are causing a nuisance of themselves yet again. Patoxy and Ion scrambling to get themselves out of dodge and into a position to do anything about this push. The plant has been confirmed. Everyone on the side of Team 1 pretty low aside from Lagonis. I'm going to find one onto KDS, on a second onto Alamau. So picks himself up a double kill, but he's still got one of the hardest retakes in the game to contend with. Levy going to drop the lion scan and stop the players from advancing on through. Only a short amount of time, but when there's only 25 seconds left to get this disabled, every second counts. Levy in a position now to make a swing onto that yellow doorway, but Patoxy, he's going to start to try and bait out that diffuser. Levy moves on through. You've got to hit your shots though, Levy. He's going to miss pretty much every single one. Patoxy, bros don't fake. He's able to disable that diffuser. Black Dragons stand up to Team 1 there.
Well, I mean, Team 1 went for the risk. It nearly looked like it was going to pay off, but ultimately it did not. Having a couple of casualties early on, even though they piled on the kills straight afterwards, simply weakened them to a point where once that plant was down, it was really hard to hold on to it because there was no discernible advantage for them. However, what we see with a lot of teams is they go in for their rush on their first round. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Fine, we move on. And you almost only ever see it happen with teams that have a lot of rounds to spare, which is a situation that I think is fair to say Team 1 were in. So, well, it's, it was really something from Team 1. It was great for Black Dragons to be able to put a round on the board, but I don't think Team 1 are going to be too plagued by the outcome of that round.
It's not keeping them up at night, is it? I don't think that they're going to be laying there in bed tonight going, oh, you know what, we really should have won that round 7 rush. Like, I can't believe it didn't work. It just really is one of those things. Team 1 aside that whenever you get a chance to look at the player cams whenever in the lower part of the screen, regularly they're having a lot of fun, particularly at round end. They're often laughing and joking, and they are one of those teams that really, I think whilst they take things very seriously, they have a lot of fun along the way. And that's something that comes across in the gameplay because you can see that in the way that they play Siege. So expect the odd rush round to be thrown in here or there. Expect the odd, a little bit of, not wacky gameplay, but just something a little bit different. That's what they kind of throw in to keep things fresh. But they're going to be attacking upstairs now into CEO. They've got a clash to contend with. Now, this is not a site that we saw Team 1 defend. They were very happy with just defending downstairs in Garage, Split, and Preston Lobby. It is a site that has fallen out of favor recently in a lot of regions, not just inside of Brazil. So, let's see how Black Dragons want to approach this. It's not that it's easy to attack onto. I just think that you're very exposed as defenders here. Now, the clash has been brought to try and counter that. But at the minute, Ion's the only one that's significantly contributing in terms of kills. So, I'd kind of rather see him with a gun in his hands.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. It reminds me of the previous game where Muzi teased the idea of being on the clash, and I was like, don't think we want Muzi with a shield, and then he immediately 6-picked off. A nice swing in from Lagonis gets him the kill onto Iron, and that's exactly why you want to see him with a gun in his hands. Standing at a window with his back to another one is not going to help. Lagonis can get straight in with the plant, and with Perez being taken down before he has a chance to deny it, that means Team 1, they got plant down. It's a post-plant once again.
How does Lagonis hop in through connector, take down the clash, get the plant down under the cover of the Selma going off? Very impressive stuff indeed. And now a tricky retake here, as there are players that are going to be holding angles on windows. It's going to be very difficult for Patoxy and Live to try and challenge onto this. Toxic Babe canisters really are going to be the best bet, and Live's going to try and stick it. Is it going to be 2 rounds in a row where the plant does get disabled? And it looks like it will be. Neskin finds Patoxy, but it doesn't matter. You can't be looking for Patoxy. You got to be looking for the guy that is disabling that diffuser. Black Dragons, 2 rounds in a row. They are just going to have the guts to stick it.
It should not be the attacking team who is struggling to find where the diffuser was planted. You're the ones who planted it. You should know. You should know where your focus ought to be. You had man advantage. There were 3 of them alive at the end. It is just painful to see that happen. Knowing how close they were. It's the second time, as you say, it's the second time that's happened now. And Black Dragons are going to find themselves firing on forward if Team 1 don't sort it the hell out now. Because it's great if you can get your plants down, but you have to ensure that you can get through to the rest of the round. And if you're there with a man advantage and you still can't pull it off, that is a concern.
Well, things are starting to get a little bit real for Team 1 here. 2 rounds in a row, they've been hyper-focused on getting that diffuser down, and 2 rounds in a row, it hasn't really worked out for them. Now they get to attack onto the split site, a site that can be quite difficult to execute onto. I think it's kind of the story of the stage for Team 1 as well. While they've come away with a good number of results here, I think they've certainly achieved more points inside of Stage 2 than they did in Stage 1. It hasn't been flawless siege. They have made a couple of mistakes, and you know, those last 2 rounds, it's all fun and games, you know, that you're getting the plan down, but being unable to hold it and regularly giving that opportunity away to Black Dragons to pick a couple of rounds is quite a dangerous prospect, especially when you know how much this game means to Black Dragons. And it's not to say that you should be trying to win extra hard because it means a lot to your opponent in something that really doesn't involve Team 1 at all. It's more a Black Dragons MIBR thing. But you still got to be going in as a competitor and recognizing that because of how much is on the line here for Black Dragons, they're going to have a lot of grit and a lot of determination to get a win out here. And they're going to try and do that at pretty much any cost. As scrappy as the siege will get, they're going to be happy if they're able to pull a win out. So I think Team 1 have got to keep that in the back of the mind. They're playing for a little bit more than just the 3 points and just the fixture. The Black Dragons, it really is a chance at a little bit of something more. And that's showing through so far in the way that they're approaching these defenses.
The air jabs be placed elsewhere on the other side of the map. Now you can see the Black Dragons really want to kind of bunker down on this top floor by the placement of the ADSs onto long desk as well. There's the Selma to try and breach through. They know of their positions, of course. You can see the pings coming out. It's Perez who's being protected by that ADS. And with meeting being held as well. The Team 1 are now looking to work on opening up a route into the downstairs. That's what that hatch that had the Selma thrown onto it is for. And I suppose you have the idea, right, that, you know, if defenders are upstairs, if you can get downstairs, that might be an opening.
Team 1 are going to have to find an opening very shortly. Time is starting to tick. What a kill from Ion onto Lagonis. He eventually will be swung, but Perezin finds one in the meantime. Still, Team 1 have got locations upstairs being held. Alamau wasn't ready for the swing from Perez, who was more interested in the stairs as the intel wasn't exactly fresh. Levy, he was between pillar and post there, and Live will find the final 2. And I see 4 there that is going to come in. Black Dragons dangerously close to leveling this one up here against Team 1.
I did say that it could all change at the half. Just saying, I called it. Oh, man. Well, one thing that I will say is here on Garage, this is where Team 1 did try to go for the rush. It didn't quite work, so maybe them playing a bit more tempered is going to give them the advantage that they need to make it onto match point, but with the struggles that they've had when attacking, I don't know how confident I am in that matter. Guess we'll have to find out. Switching onto the onto the buck from the Twitch, so they have the extra soft breach. I wonder if both of them are going to be deployed upstairs to open the floor. There was a 6-pick on the other side as well, but I actually didn't see who it was.
I'm just looking back through my notes now. I think Team 1 only won 2 attacking rounds when they played Liquid on this map as well. Now, obviously, Liquid and Black Dragons are 2 entirely different beasts, but it might speak to a bit of a deeper rooted problem in Teams 1 attack on Consulate. If it is somewhere that they're consistently struggling to come away with attacking round wins, regardless of opponent. So, always something worth bearing in mind. I think the frustrating thing, watching the way that this game has played out, is that Team 1 have had those opportunities, and they've had opportunity enough to get a plant down, but they've been unable to hold it in a post. And that's not the same as struggling on your attacking rounds to take map control or to, you know, really start to pinch and push the defenders. So I think it's more that the opportunities have been there for Team 1, and I think that's maybe why, or where they'll see a little bit of frustration and recognize a couple of the mistakes. There's a slightly different approach to the setup here from Black Dragons. They've actually reinforced the meeting hatch as opposed to leaving it open, and they've also left the walls in and around piano and meeting soft. So it just gives you something a little bit different to play with, but you can bet that there's going to be nobody hard anchoring inside of that bathroom now, as there is no easy way to get out of there.
Sometimes you do find people specifically play to die, but it's the same idea, right? It's like, you know that you're not getting out. But yeah, it doesn't look like they have anybody in there. Hey, default camp Toxie is going to be taking a ton of damage, but finally gets it back onto KDS, and he can retain his control over meeting. So yeah, Perez is still in the bathroom. He has a rotate hole out, so he can escape if he needs to, but it's not going to be down that hatch.
As you say, it's a much more accepting of your fate sort of strategy here, especially when you got Alamar dropping on in, but that's a vertical angle that's being held by resets onto the hatch. Alamar has been entirely outplayed there, and Neskin is now staring down, looking at just what exactly is going on. Nades are going to come on down, but they're not going to deal any damage. Neskin eventually does make the drop, but the information is now a little bit old, and he doesn't really know if there's anybody still inside of the bathroom. Instead, he's trying to remove that electroclaw, and will do so, but pay for it with his life. Missing those first couple of shots was crucial. Also, he lost a teammate in the meantime. Levy now left as the last man standing. That's going to be a perfect round for Black Dragons. We didn't even see the breach opened from Team 1.
I don't know what Team 1 were really going for there. It was like they just got so in their own heads. We have to take some much more roundabout approach. Like, do you? I don't know. Back to press and lobby. This is the first time that Black Dragons have been here. Might as well make it a full 4 sites, huh? Let's see. Well, okay. Why is it always the operator that I'm going to talk about is the one that gets 6 picked?
The like, controversial ones.
Yeah, I'm always like, oh, okay, so this one's interesting, and then immediately it's de-interestingified. Not that Malusi isn't interesting, she's great, but you know, a little bit more standard, I guess. Regardless, this was the site that when Black Dragons were attacking onto it, they went for the whole Kali thing without really factoring in the potential for denial. And it's not even, it's almost like the problems that Team 1 have been facing are not even the same as what Black Dragons did when they were attacking. You know, Team 1 had really great denial. Black Dragons haven't even been causing denial. They've either been getting all of Team 1 before you get to that point, or the post plant from Team 1 has just been very weak. It's not really an issue with planting itself.
Yeah, the plant's going down. It's everything else that goes after that. And to a degree, what goes on before it, because the couple of plants that we've seen have been relatively rushed. I don't know. We'll see how it all pans out here. This game's got overtime written all over it. There really is no two ways about it. In my opinion, we either see Black Dragons win a clear 7 rounds, or we see this game going into overtime, because Team 1 haven't given us much indication that they've got more than maybe 1 attacking round in them here. We'll have to see as we get the first Lion scan coming out here. Lagonis going to be doing a little bit of deep droning. See what's going on down on the site. Resets, he's going to be taken down here. Alamau finding a bit of success from that spiral repel. Resets has struggled to get himself involved significantly today. Currently sitting 4 and 9. He's going to be resigned to the cameras here. Toxie levels things out. Takes down Neskin. Can make a rotation as well. Gets himself up yellow and potentially back inside of Piano. Now, of course, with the site being pressed in the lobby, there is chance for a cheeky plant inside the door. And that could be on the cards. The lack of smokes could come to hurt Team 1 here, as you haven't really got a lot of potential cut-off lines of sight if that's what they're going to go for. And they're still trying to find these vertical angles and these bits of pressure. Alamau has probably pushed Live out of position for the time being. There's still quite a bit of work to do here, and Black Dragons are poised, ready to not only deal with the push that's potentially coming in, but already in positions to retake. You think about Neskin, sorry, you think about Perez upstairs, and he's able to hold that nice angle on down through the hatch as C4's come out now onto KDS. Toxic Babe Canister's going to cut off for a time. Lagonis going to chunk himself down a little bit by walking on in. There's still a minute left, but you get the impression that a push is coming as the E1D covers for the plank going down live. Look at your patience there. He finds one onto Lagonis. Toxic Babe Canister out. Drops the hatch. The diffuser now in no man's land. Levy may have had the call that has happened, as he is going to immediately look to try and drop inside of Archives, but damage is being done elsewhere. KDS, the next player to fall. Alamar left with every window to check and every angle unknown. The diffuser can be recovered here, but it's going to come at a cost, and the cost is a gunfight with Peroxy that you have to try and win now. Alamar goes for the swing. He too gets taken down. Levy will find an impactless kill. Perez in from the hatch. He essentially watched the same angle for the last minute and a half, and it's paid off beautifully for him and his team.
A lot of patience being exhibited by Black Dragons in that round, and it's led them to match point, which is kind of wild because it's only a few rounds ago that I was saying this is concerning. Black Dragons have to prove that they can get themselves into the Cobra Elite 6. They need to win this game. And Black Dragons were sat on 1 and 5, and now they could be about to take this whole game. And I don't even necessarily feel confident in being able to play the other side of the story, which is, oh, Team 1, they could take this to overtime, haha. Because what have Team 1 done so far to show us that they're going to be able to do that?
I mean, I said at the start of the last round, I said this is either 7-5 Black Dragons or it's an overtime. And I genuinely now don't see this going into an OT. The only saving grace that we can maybe throw Team 1's direction here is that Lagonis hopped in through connector. He got a plant down in front of a bulletproof camera, which, by the way, stayed alive. And the plant was unable to be held from the West Rappel window previously when we saw this site. So we didn't really get to see exactly what Team 1 are capable of here. If they do go for a very sort of decisive admin side take, then maybe we see something happen. Maybe we see them clinch around and it goes to an OT. But with the way that they've been playing, it doesn't indicate that they have got another attacking round in them at the moment. And it's kind of sad because they started off their attacking phase. For all that they were rushes and they were a little bit of, unorthodox plays, what they were doing in essence was good. It was just executed poorly.
Well, if Iron can survive longer than he did last time when he was playing the Clash, that would be a great start, because Lagonis' swing straight in just to give him a bullet to the back of the skull, not ideal. I'm going to put it out there. But, I mean, naturally, they're going to be a lot more vigilant about that kind of thing. Or at least I would hope, and I would imagine. So it was also that really frustrating round where Team 1 got the plant and they did it really well, and then they were in like a 3 versus 1 and still failed in the post plant. It was all very bizarre. And you can see the pings that are coming out from Ion because he knows that Alamau is rappelling up, and that's why these two players are maybe looking to go for a run out, but they're not going to risk it too much. They've decided to head back up the stairs rather than expose themselves too far.
We are seeing that admin side push now take a bit of shape. But Ion, the human drone, the shield can move to wherever he is required or most useful That's exactly what we're going to see him do here. Resets is still going to be trying to play inside of theater as he looks to just keep himself out of dodge for the time being and dip on out. This push still starting to take a little bit of shape here as Alamar's going to place a drone below. Just ever-present threat of a C4, which Resets has in his hand. Would be something that comes to scupper the plans of Team 1 at a slightly later date if they do look to try and get the plan down, which I wouldn't be surprised if they do. It's been a primary focus of them inside of a lot of these rounds. ADS's Gemini will be getting taken on out there. Nade's going to come through to try and deal with Ion, but Why Magna is going to see to that nade, or at least the flash, as the nades do start to come on through, and Ion gets pinched both sides. Neskin unfortunately can't land the shots, though, and will leave Ion still standing. He is getting pinched, but he's not getting pressured too much. He can just back himself off a little bit, and with how open the site is, it is going to be quite difficult to get a plan down. We're seeing now Lionscan come through. Lagonis has to make the move and will do just exactly that. Don't forget, there is a C4 below, and Resets could be in a position to use it. Yes, he is. He's in, locks in the C4. Now the plant is going to be cold. KDS going to find one onto Patoxy, but not only is the floor going to be open right about where that kit is, it could be in a position to be taken back. Alamau, he's going to find it as the kills do start to come in here for Team 1 live. He doesn't have the information. Team 1, they scrape one by nothing was going in their favor inside of that round. Black Dragons held all of the cards, but a flurry of kills in a well-executed push from Team 1 is enough to take this to an OT.
I'll be honest, I wasn't a huge fan of Clash being brought back. You could tell that even though Iron, as you said, wasn't directly being pressured, he was still being pinched, and it meant he was kind of tossing and turning in his position. He had to back out in a way. And as a direct result, it meant that when the plants started to come in, yeah, they got the denial from below, but you still know where Team 1 are trying to access the site from. And he couldn't really push that much, because if he did, he would put himself in a vulnerable position. And it led to this kind of flurry at the end from Black Dragons. So, yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of the fact that they decided to bring that back. And what could have been a regulation victory for Black Dragons and really securing their spot in that 6th place, they now have to fight further for it in overtime.
Black Dragon's going to be on the attack here. Team 1 starting things off on the defense. Team 1 certainly saw a lot more favor in their defensive rounds, able to pick up 4. Oh, sorry, 5, wasn't it? Was it 5-1 they went on the defense? So certainly an advantage there for Team 1 and started off on this side. We're going to be rocking pretty much the same setup that we saw work as well as soon as Lagonis was in for a full round, that is, defending downstairs inside of the garage. It does tend to rely on an early pick, and Alamau has typically been the one to get them. Either that or I think Levy was able to get one as well, but Resets is the player that you want to try and target here. As a couple of rounds that we have seen Team 1 defend downstairs here, Resets has been taken out fairly early, and obviously as the sledge, it poses quite a huge problem, as you're then unable to sufficiently deal with Piano. Now, Alamau is taking a fairly direct approach and just plonking himself directly inside of Piano for the meantime. The hot breach is going to come through here from Ion into the admin area as he attempts to clear out this top floor.
KDS creeping up a little bit onto that meeting doorway. You don't want to get caught out, and in fact, he's going to drop down the hatch, so likelihood of him getting caught out pretty low now, as he's all the way down in the basement. Still got some space upstairs. Again, we had Alamau upstairs last time Team 1 were defending here, dropping down through the hatch, so funneling everyone back to the site. Going to be watching out to see if that's a nicely placed like yokai drone. It gives them really good vision on the 2 stairwells. Yellow stairs, I mean, should this push go down, the rest of yellow stairs is going to be spotted out almost instantly, and also the air jab being found over on the service stairs as well means that's got to be watched too.
Brez will find a kill there over onto Alamau. Cade is a fall here. The value from Cade will largely have been gained at this point. There's still going to be a C4 in the hands of Neskin. He's going to be playing inside of the bathroom and eventually feels enough of a pinch to rotate himself on out. ADS will be able to take down Perezin as he's holding on that Echo. He's got a big part to play here inside of this round as we're getting close toward a plant, and if that's where we end up, then you're going to want to try and have those yokais alive and kicking. Live, it seems he's going to get the plan down without a hitch, though, as the pressure was just too much. Patoxy, he's going to come in with a couple of kills. Live, a second, as there is pressure from the hatch as well. Neskin's going to fall. The irony of that final kill coming in, a position that Neskin was playing for pretty much the entirety of the round, will eventually be where he is taken out from. Black Dragons, they put themselves onto a match point here.
Once again, and they get to go into the side that they found a lot easier as well. So the advantage is very much in Black Dragon's hands here. They're also going to be heading down into Garage, which they won in round 7. They won in round 10. Cool. So round 7, Team 1 did successfully plant, but it was that really weird round where it was like a strange rush kind of deal going on. Switching on over to Kaid. So even though the Twitch 6-pick may have been to directly counter the mirror, it will also actually be really useful against the Kaid as well. You can get rid of the Electro Claws using the shock drones without needing to, i.e., find the hidden Electro Claws underneath toolboxes or open up the floor above in order to get it out. Now, they'll likely be looking to open up the floor above anyway, but the point is that if they were to lose Neskin, for example, probably not going to be the end of the world because they can still get the wall open.
Yeah, I guess it depends on where those mute jammers are placed, as it looks like there might have been one next to that drone hole. Oh, these electricals are going to be really pesky. They're going to be... They've literally had little electroclaw pockets made for them and everything. I'm taking a lot of pride in those placements.
Been creative. Well, we'll get to see. There's the exothermic charge being detonated. Is that what that was? I swear I didn't hear it.
I didn't hear it. I heard something, but
Am I just going crazy? Was it not the exothermic charge?
No, I think it was. I think we got a glimpse of the breach there being open.
You can see. It was just a really silent one.
Yeah. I mean, the electricals have obviously come to nothing. Lagona's paid for his life as well, opening up the breach, but I guess they're going to take it. Like, it's just one of those things. Sometimes you got to crack a few eggs to make an omelette, and with the breach being open now, it gives Team 1 a line of sight in. Ooh, KDS there has an opportunity and will put some considerable damage in onto Perez, but ultimately Perez is still going to be alive and kicking in there. It's a much lighter hold inside of the bathroom, as we noted. And it can leave you a bit more susceptible to a bit more chip damage or some grenades coming in, but Perez is doing a great job of wasting a lot of time here.
Again, he's got a reinforced hatch, so he'll have to escape out of one of the rotate holes if he is to do that anyway. Levy looks like he's waiting for a call. Maybe to move in through this window. Maybe led by one of the E1Ds, because he's used none of them so far. And I suppose if you can force Perez to stand still through the use of the E1Ds, you don't need to worry about his position in bathroom.
Live's turned his attention to the breach now, as the Lion Scan will come through. It's going to pay dividends as well, as he is able to take down Alamau. Neskin does trade back on through, and between him and KDS, they're doing a pretty good job of keeping Team 1 in this thing. Neskin going to start to try and bait the plant now. They are in a disadvantaged situation. The Evil Eye is going to be there undoing it. All now comes down to KDS. He's going to get swung. Resets. He didn't have the biggest game, but he finds the final 2. And he gets the job done here for Black Dragons, taking the win against Team 1.
Team One, who had so many issues with planting, seemed to run into that problem at the end once again, except maybe didn't quite expect the demise to be to an evil eye. Whatever works, I suppose. Regardless, Black Dragons finally take away the win from this. They won't get 3 points for it, but an overtime win is still a win. And I'm not actually sure if that means they're definitely cemented into 6th place or if they still need to wait for the outcome of the Liquid MIBR game that is to come. But regardless of what the situation is, I suspect they'll be feeling pretty much a sigh of relief after that.
Yeah, I think looking at the points and looking at the standings, I think if MIBR win their game, it would actually tie them both up on 25 points. So then then something else would come into sort of contention. I don't actually know what that is.
The mini league.
But it will be some sort of mini league. But for the time being, at least, Black Dragons can breathe a bit of a sigh of relief in that they did their very best there. They didn't have a great attack, but they had a really good defense. Team One, on the other hand, God, do those guys struggle attacking onto Consulate. I mean, it was tough to watch at times. You know, they were able to get in, they were able to get plants down, but then unable to hold in post plants. Like, that's not really the Team One that we're used to seeing. They've really not had the best of days there today, but Black Dragons, they're able to take away a couple of points there. Riley, get yourself back in here and let's have a bit of a discussion about that game. Of course, don't go anywhere, guys. Don't think about leaving because we've still got another game coming up.
That's right. Still one more to come after this one. And wow, that one really another overtime match that started off, don't forget, going 5-1, I believe, which was just incredible. It was incredible to see Black Dragons claw their way back into that. And I mean, now they're in a position here that LATAM League final slot is looking pretty good. If MIBR lock up the 3 points in our 5th and final match here, as Ollie was saying, we do go to tiebreakers. According to the information I have here, the tiebreakers are head-to-head, round difference, match win percentage, round win percentage, and then finally, if all of those are still locked up, a tiebreaker match. So maybe we get a 6th match, who knows? But things looking good for Black Dragons here with that 2-point win. Obviously, they would have preferred the 3. I think that would have locked them up. But now the sweat, I suppose, a little bit. And MIBR fighting as hard as they can in this match. If they have a sniff at, look, we'll crunch the numbers behind the scenes and get final confirmation exactly as to how it looks. But any way you slice it here, BD, I think... I mean, how are they feeling right now, Gio? You know, are they disappointed they didn't get the 3 points? Are they relieved that they turned around a 1-5? What's going through their heads, do you think?
I imagine they're kind of frustrated that they didn't lock it out in the regulation time, but the fact that they got the win, that's probably the main thing that they're thinking of right now. That's what I would assume anyway. And as cruel as it may sound, they're probably quite relieved that MIBR are facing up against Team Liquid. Because MIBR have obviously been having a tough time, and I think Team Liquid would be one of the most difficult opponents for them to go up against, sorry. So they're probably thinking, all right, we could have done better, but we still got our win. Now we just wait for the next game, but at least the next game looks like it might not be horrendous for us.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a tough one for MIBR based on their performance as well, Ollie. You know, we've seen them pick up a win. They picked up a win recently, but it's the only win they've had in the entire stage. They don't have a lot of form at the moment, which is understandable given their circumstances.
It is, and I think that MIBR are going to be pleased with anything they can get here, you know, after the stage that they've had. If they could just get a couple of wins, well, if they could just get another win here tonight, I'm sure that they will be elated at that. And, you know, hey, if not, then, you know, let's just hope that Fleapox is back at full strength for stage 3, and they're just going to have to chalk stage 2 up to a little bit of a blip and unfortunate circumstance, and then look to move on through. I think that in terms of the sort of overarching and long-term goals for MIBR, it's going to stretch beyond a single stage. So they should be able to look past that and hopefully keep their heads held high. But of course, they do still have a chance. And they're going against Liquid, who honestly, as of late, have been a little bit hit or miss.
Yeah, a longer-term view perhaps for MIBR, although they do, of course, have this one match that is coming your way very shortly, my friends. We're going to take a quick break. On the other side of it, our 5th and final match for today's coverage. So stick around, everyone. We'll be back with more coverage of the BR6 after this.